The landing and flights tab, the first thing is the landing lineup, so the tick boxes whether you get a menu item or not. The filter, you can filter by any letters and refresh the list and it'll give you the list of everything that matches the filter. So for example we'll filter on KM and we've got all these airfields. You can type in more letters if you want, so if I type in that, I've got this. So selecting that, the filter will get saved so you don't have to load that every time, and the selected airfield gets saved until you change it. So to line up on that, you can either click on the button here or with the menu item. It has got a menu entry here and that'll set us up, lined up for KMSO down there. Now as you might notice, it's not perfectly lined up. The reason for that's the heading designation for the airfield is not necessarily the true heading. So if that's significantly out and you want to fix that, then you have to go and do a bit of a lookup on the correct entry to put into the configuration file. So to do that, what we'll do is we'll jump back on here. So we're after KMSO, and at the moment it's lined up at 110 degrees, but that's not quite correct. So what we'll do is we'll open the runway CSV file by clicking that button. We'll go down to KMSO. So we're looking at the 9,500 foot runway, runway 11. So that is this one here. And what we want to do is look up a more accurate heading for that. And the third column, so the one that's got all the negative ones in, is waiting for you to put in a more accurate heading. So where you can get that from, go to a place called skyvector.com, go to the airports. You can browse through all the countries and get there, or you can just type it straight in. Down this information down here in the runway section, there's a magnetic heading and a true heading. Not all airfields will show the true, some of them will just show the magnetic. So the 130 true is what we're looking for there. If you only had the magnetic, then take the magnetic, 113, go back up the top and look at the magnetic variation. 113 plus 17 gives you the 130 true. If the magnetic variation is to the west, then subtract 17 rather than add. So we want to enter 130 degrees in there, and we'll also want to enter 310 in the opposite direction, and then we'll save that runway. If we run that filter just once more to get it to refresh, pull in that new heading, and this time when we line up we should be directly on the runway. So not all runways will be that far out, but if you want to fix some of your favourite ones, that's how you go about doing it. So the position at which your aircraft is positioned when clicking on this, there's an approach rate that's set a percentage between your stall speed and your cruise speed for the aircraft. There's an ETA minutes out, so this is currently 3 minutes at whatever the speed works out to be, and there's an approach angle, so if I increase this by several degrees and line up again I should be higher, and if I increase the minutes out I should be further back, like so. There's also couple of tick boxes, whether you want your gear down by default and whether you want to flick on to virtual cockpit. So if you'd started in spot and then press the button, it would move you to virtual cockpit. So if you're paying attention, you might notice there's some additional items have turned up on this landing and flights tab. I can't be bothered re-recording the video for the first bit of it, and I have been adding things. So the new things we're going to run through is down the bottom here, the create runway camera. So if you've got a control tower on your airfield, you probably don't need this. But if you're at a smaller airfield without any sort of ground-based camera, you can get it to automatically position a camera so that you can view your landing. If I line up on this runway, so we've now got a camera which is watching the aircraft from down at the runway, which is directly ahead of me here. The settings on the sliders that we saw. So the first one is the ratio of the aircraft in that window at the moment, so it's taking up the entire window. If I change this slider so it's basically now it's half of the window and a third of the window, etc., etc. The locked distance, if I start doing an approach, it's going to stay locked at that size and just keep on changing the zoom to maintain that size within the window until we get to 3,000 meters of the runway, and at that point it'll the aircraft will start filling in more and more of the window. So I haven't got my joystick connected at the moment, I have to fly with the mouse, but we'll see how we go. So now it's flipped into the, we're closer than 3,000 meters, so the camera's changed mode. Don't judge me on this landing, I'm demonstration only. In fact, we might not land, we'll just buzz the camera. So we're approaching the camera now. And it is a tracking camera, so it does continue to follow the aircraft. So that's that camera feature. So the other thing we've got going on is something called Find My Way Home. What it is it'll randomly position your aircraft, so for practice working out where you are and flying your way back to an airfield. So the settings are a maximum minimum distance for the random placement and a maximum and minimum AGL for altitude. The random can be based on either the airfield that you've got selected in this list over here in the landing lineup, or it can be if you're out in the middle of nowhere and you just want it based on the current position rather than some airfield. So if I click on this place at random location, then I now don't know quite where I am, and I've got to figure that out and not crash into this mountainside and get back. And not crashing into the mountainside might be easier said than done in this case. If that happens, I might just choose to reposition myself to somewhere a bit more user-friendly. Because we had the menu item tick box ticked, we should find something in here. Find my way home, so I can jump to a different position. Okay, that's a little bit easier to fly out of. The saved flight positions, that's fairly simple. It will save your position every 30 seconds and you can recall those by double clicking on them on the list. If the tick box is ticked, then when you crash it will reload 2 minutes back.